Okay, now let's look at control flow. So our if statements and how we can, so the reason why we call this a control flow is basically because with if statements we can control the flow of our code. We can determine whether we want a certain block of code be executed or not. So, you will do an evaluation in your if statement, and if that evaluation comes out true, then you will execute that code block, and if it comes out false, you won't, basically. So that's why we call it a control flow, because the flow, the execution of your code is controlled by if statements. So like we said before in the previous video, I think, we don't have parentheses around the if statements like we do in Java, and we use a colon to start our code block. And okay, so this code basically consists of 3 different if statements. So we don't have any elif statements here. So each of these statements will be executed separately, regardless of what happened before it. Okay, so here, so it says separate if blocks will evaluate each condition, but elif blocks will run only if the previous condition was incorrect. So you see the 2 different examples here. So here we only use if statements. Like I said, these will be executed separately, but here we have our first if statement and then 2 elif statements and then an else statement. So the execution of these elif statements actually depend on this first statement. So if x is not 0 in this case, if we can't get into this code block, then we do like a fallback kind of strategy. Then try this, and if it doesn't work out, try this, and if nothing else works out in the end, if none of these end up being true, else run this. Okay, so this is very simple, but when, like last semester, for example, when I gave a question thinking that it was really easy, and it just required nested if statements, like it just required doing something like this. Let's see, elif x is smaller than 5, you print x is smaller than 5, but also I want to check, in this case, if it is smaller than 5, I want to check if it is even or odd. So I can do this. If the mode modulus operator, so if when I divide it by 2, I get a 0. So let's say if it's even, oh wait, I forgot my second thing. Okay, so let's print another statement saying x is even. Okay, so in this case, if I run this code, this is not 0. It won't. Okay, wait, let's just say that this is 3. So this won't run, obviously, because this statement will give out false. And then we'll fall back to this elif statement and check if x is smaller than 5, which it is in this case. Okay, we come in here, we print this, and then I do another check only if it is smaller than 5. I check whether it's even or not, and if it's even, I also print x is even. And then once I get into the statement, I do whatever's necessary here, and then I just come out, I quit this control flow. So I will not evaluate this or this, because these, like we said, the execution of these lines, these statements depend on the previous ones. So if this weren't true, then we would have run this, and if none of those were true, we would run this. But because we evaluated this and it came out true and we ran this part of the code, we don't execute these anymore, and then you get out of the control flow. Whereas here, for example, with three different if statements, you run each of them. So if these were not elif, but just if, these would get checked as well, okay? So when I run this, these two print statements should be, I'm sorry, not these two, because it's not even, sorry. Like just, we only got this, none of these ran, but if I do 2, now I get both of the print statements in this little code block. Okay, so that's that. And like I said, the reason why I, emphasize this part is because next semester I've seen students confuse this. I don't know if it was like exam pressure or what, but it's this is important. And also another trick you can use and should use is having and or conditions in your evaluations. So also it's good to know that these are evaluated left to right. Well, if you need to check 2 different statements that are linked by or, in this case, for this code block to be executed, it's enough that you get true in either of these, right? It's with, you can have false true, true false, or true true in this case, because it's not exclusive or. But if you wanted to do exclusive or, then you would need this caret symbol. This makes sure that this will only come out true if only one of these statements are true. So maybe that might be confusing when I just say it like that. Oops, sorry. Terrible with this keyboard, by the way. So exclusive or, okay, exclusive or will do this basically. If you have true and true, this will give out false, okay? Like the name suggests, it's exclusive. So one of the options, one of the statements should be excluded. When both of them are true, we don't accept it. Only one of them needs to be true. So if it is false and true, well, maybe it's not a good thing that I used and. Maybe we should do plus. If you have false and true, this will give out true. And also if it is true and false, this will output true, okay? But with inclusive or, which is like the regular or, we can call it regular or, we have all these same situations, obviously, but this time these will give out true, but also the both of them being true situation will also give out true. So regular or is just or, and exclusive or, is this caret symbol. Okay, so let's go back to what we were talking about. So in a statement, statement where you have like this complex structure, 2 different statements, the regular or will think like this. Okay, so if I check this and this comes out true, well, this statement is going to be true anyway. Whether this is true or false, our regular or is going to give us true, right? If this is correct. So it doesn't go on to check the second statement. But of course with and, it can't do that because, whether this comes out true or false, you also have to check this and make sure that this is also true. Okay, so, and also, that's my cat. And also you can actually write statements where you check Okay, having some technical difficulties. Where you can check the relationship between several values in one if statement, and if this is correct, it will print out. If this is true, I mean, it will print out correct. So yeah, that's a quick overview of control flows.